For the longest time, controlling a machine with just your thoughts, that was pure science fiction, right? Well, in 2024, that sci-fi dream became a reality. We're about to dive deep into how Neuralink's very first human implant is not just changing one person's life, but it could seriously change the future of how we interact with computers forever. It was like using the Force on a cursor. That's not me saying that. Those are the words of Nolan Arbaum, the very first person to get this implant. He actually compared it to something straight out of Star Wars. It just goes to show you, this isn't only about technology. It's about a feeling, an experience that was, well, basically unimaginable until right now. And that experience led to this absolutely incredible moment. I mean, just think about it. For the first time in human history, a thought was pulled directly from a person's mind and turned into a social media post for the world to see. No hands, no voice, just thought. That single post is a huge signal that we've taken a massive leap forward. So how in the world did we get here? Well, to really understand the tech, we've got to start with the human story, right at the center of it all. This is Nolan. After a tragic diving accident left him paralyzed from the shoulders down, his main way of interacting with the world was through a stylus he had to hold in his mouth. I mean, you can imagine, it was a slow, difficult process. He'd need a caregiver to help, and it really limited his independence. But the Neuralink implant, it changed everything for him. He calls it a luxury overload. He can now use his computer while just lying down in bed, reconnecting with his friends, and even playing video games for hours on end. It makes it so clear this isn't just about moving a cursor. It's about giving someone their autonomy back, letting them live life on their own terms again. Which, of course, brings us to the million-dollar question. How does this incredible technology actually work? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the system that makes all of this possible. So at the very heart of it is something called a brain-computer interface, or a BCI. The concept is actually pretty simple if you think about it. It's like a bridge. It reads the tiny electrical signals your brain naturally makes when you think about moving, and then it translates those signals into commands a computer can actually understand. So the Neuralink system does this in 4 key steps. First, these super thin threads detect signals from individual brain cells. Second, a custom-built chip, the N1, processes all that data right there inside the implant. Third, that info gets beamed out wirelessly using Bluetooth to a device, like a laptop. And finally, and this is the magic part, powerful AI algorithms decode those signals, turning the intention to move into actual movement on a screen. Okay, let's geek out on the numbers behind the magic for a second. The system uses 64 threads, and each one is thinner than a single human hair. They're packed with over 1,000 electrodes listening in. The entire device is wireless and sits invisibly under the scalp. And to place those delicate threads, a surgical robot does it with insane precision. We're talking a level no human hand could ever achieve. But Nolan's journey wasn't just some straight, easy line to success. Oh no. It's a story of a record-breaking achievement, a really critical setback, and then an absolutely ingenious recovery that tells us even more about the tech itself. So early on, Nolan's performance was measured in something called bits per second, or BPS. Now, this isn't just about speed. It's a metric that actually combines both the speed and the accuracy of his cursor control. And he quickly hit a peak of 8.0 BPS, which set a new world record for a human using a BCI. Now, to put that number in perspective for you, an able-bodied person using a normal mouse, they score around 10 BPS. So Nolan, controlling a cursor with his mind alone, was already getting incredibly close to that level of performance. It was a completely unprecedented success. But in the weeks right after the surgery, something went wrong. That initial breakthrough was suddenly at risk, and it threatened to derail the entire experiment. So here was the problem. A bunch of those super fine threads actually pulled away from his brain tissue. The physical connection was compromised, which meant fewer signals were getting picked up, and his cursor control just plummeted. Now, you might think the only answer would be another invasive surgery, right? To go back in there and fix it? Well, that's not what happened. In what is just a stunning turn of events, the team fixed this physical hardware problem with a software update. Neuralink's engineers basically tweaked the system's algorithms, making them way more sensitive to the signals from the threads that were still connected. And get this, the software fix didn't just bring his performance back to where it was, it pushed it beyond his original record-breaking levels. It proved that this system's resilience is just as much about smart software as it is about advanced hardware. Nolan's story is incredible, but it's really just the beginning. To understand where this is all going, we've got to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, the competition, the ethics, and what's coming next. Yeah, while Neuralink gets most of the headlines, they're not the only game in town. There are other companies trying to solve the same problem, connecting a brain to a computer, but they're using very different strategies. This slide really breaks down the core trade-off in this whole field. On one side, you've got Neuralink's approach, highly invasive open brain surgery. It's high risk, for sure, but it gives you the absolute best signal quality by reading individual neurons. On the other side, a company like Synchron uses a much less invasive method, threading their device through a blood vessel. It's way safer, but the signal quality is lower. It's really a race between getting the highest performance versus having the best safety profile. And with this kind of unbelievable power comes, well, an unbelievable amount of responsibility. I mean, when a piece of tech can literally read the signals of our thoughts, our current laws might not be enough to protect us. This has kicked off a huge global conversation about the need for a new class of human rights, specifically for our brains. These proposed neurorights are designed to protect the very core of who we are. We're talking about the right to mental privacy, like who gets to see our thoughts, the right to personal identity, making sure this tech can't change our sense of self, and maybe, most importantly, the right to free will, protecting our decisions from being manipulated from the outside. These are the kinds of ethical guardrails we need to be building right now. So where does Neuralink go from here? Well, their roadmap is ambitious, to say the least. After motor control this year, they're planning to launch trials to restore speech and even vision. Then, by the end of the decade, the goal starts to shift from just therapy to actual human enhancement. And the ultimate long-term vision? A true symbiosis between the human brain and artificial intelligence. And that brings us to the final and most crucial question of all. We're at a serious turning point here. We've seen how this tech can restore abilities and give people back their independence. But as it evolves, as it goes from therapy to enhancement, we really have to ask ourselves, are we simply restoring what it means to be human, or are we on a path to fundamentally redefining it?